Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome for the first time if you're new. I'm Samantha Zagar. I'm a splenic projector, and thanks to my friend Patrick, who was just on season 2 of Love is Blind UK, the phrase "trust my spleen" is very searchable on the internet now. Now, I've made a career out of human design. I've been doing this for years. There are tons of us in human design, but it's not that mainstream, and it's about to be a lot more mainstream thanks to Patrick. So, what does it mean to trust my spleen? What the heck was he talking about? Let's go over it. Now, within human design, each person can generate something for themselves called a body graph. Now, within this body graph, I would like to point out the spleen, and I would like to point out how it is colored in within the body graph. Now, I'm also going to highlight a couple of other centers for you. We have something in the body graph called authority. That means one of these centers, unless you're a mental projector, in which case it's environmental authority, little nuance there, but one of these centers is typically seen as the authority center. There is a hierarchy to them. When the solar plexus is defined, it will always be the authority. Now, when we say defined, we mean colored in. When the sacral is defined, it will be the authority unless the solar plexus has been defined. Now, if both of those are undefined or white looking within the body graph, next we'll look for the spleen. If this one is defined in the body graph, you have something called splenic authority. You also will refer to this possibly as splenic awareness, and maybe you'll even use the phrase, trust my spleen. But what does it mean? What are we trusting? What does it feel like? What is going on here? A little bit of backstory would be that the spleen is one of 3 awareness centers. There's the spleen, the ajna, and the solar plexus. Now, this body graph looks like it has 9 centers. It hasn't always had 9 centers. Previous to this, there were 7 centers, and previous to that, there were 5. Now, whether it was 5, 7, or 9 centers, there has always been awareness centers within the body graph. When we were 5-centered, we only had the splenic awareness center. When we became 7-centered, we developed the ajna. And then as 9-centered beings, we now have the solar plexus. So we have an evolutionary awareness that we're moving through. Part of the information I'm giving you here, though, is that the spleen is the original awareness center. Now, if we go back to the 5-centered mammalian design, compare humans to animals, and what type of awareness would we need? And we would need a survival awareness. So splenic awareness is ultimately survival in the now. It's now, 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 as in it's incredibly current moment, present moment. The spleen is an extremely existential awareness authority. So when someone is making their splenic awareness known, what they're really making known is their instinct or their intuition or their health or their survival in the now. If I'm walking along down the street and out of nowhere, I go, something's off. This is my spleen alerting me to potential danger coming at my aura. It's bringing me an alertness of, oh, be mindful. Something's going on. There could be an incoming threat to my survival in any way. If you put a coin on a railroad track, when the train starts to come, the coin will vibrate before the human actually has awareness that the train is coming. There's a vibration happening along the railroad track that aggravates this coin and indicates to me something is coming. There's a way to be alert to an impending danger that maybe some of my other senses were not able to pick up. The coin on the railroad track is very similar to how the splenic system works, in that there is something in us that is programmed to feel this impending danger, an incoming threat. This feeling of like the hair standing up on the back of your neck, or like the shivers in your body, or being like, what is that? Historically, we just called it intuition. We called it instinct. But if I told you to trust your instinct, would you really know what I was talking about? I'm a splenic being, and the advice in the beginning was follow your instincts. It was really hard for me to sort out my instincts because my instincts were pretty muddied down with what I thought was acceptable behavior from other people. It took me a long time to learn, like, what are my instincts, and that it's okay to follow them, because typically to follow something instinctual means that you are doing things without necessarily providing reason. You're doing things very quickly, which can be off-putting or very confusing to other people. One of the hardest things about being splenic is when Other people don't understand why I make the decisions that I make. Unfortunately, there isn't a mental, rational dialogue that goes with the decision-making process. It's not about weighing things or waiting for clarity or trusting the gut or expressing yourself. This is a deep, internal, kind of freaked out knowing where you come across as an extremely reactive being. But reaction is good. When we say like don't drink and drive, it's because we don't want to impair your reactivity. We don't want your motor skills to be impaired. It's not safe. It's not safe for other people for us to be out on the road with impaired reaction time. To be splenic is to have an incredible reaction time and one that you trust and lean into. And unfortunately, it doesn't mean that you take the time to explain it to other people because it's inexplainable often. It's a feeling, an instinct, an alertness. Human design really helps because whether or not this is the thing that you should follow is determined by your body graph. When you look at your body graph and you see that you are splenic because this center is defined and the sacral and solar plexus are undefined, leaving this to be the authority, you know this is your way. Other people have other authorities. They might be sacral and follow their gut. They might be emotional solar plexus and need to wait for clarity by riding out the wave. They might be self-projected and need to express their identity through their throat. The beauty of human design is that we each get a specific genetic blueprint that shows us what elements of ourselves to prioritize to make the best decisions for us. And when we say best, they're very personal, they're very differentiated. What is best for me isn't necessarily best for you. And what is best for me is not necessarily something that you are able to discern. I'm able to discern that. Now, it takes a little bit of work, it takes a little deconditioning, which human design can offer you ways to do all of this. But back to the phrase of trust my spleen, trust my spleen, trust my spleen. What does that mean? It means that moment to moment to moment, I have to lean into this existential awareness where I am alert to something that will wreck my immune system. I'm alert to the threat of danger. I'm alert to something that ultimately will take me out of my best health. Now, one of the trickiest things about being splenic authority is that because it's existential and moment to moment, the answer can change, and that is really uncomfortable and really hard for people. I can be with someone and I can have this feeling of get away from them, not healthy, and I have to take my space. And I can encounter that same person 15 minutes later and not get a signal that says step away from them. And I can go back to being near them and it can be healthy again. Now, I don't know what happened for that person in those 15 minutes, and it's not my job to know. It's my job to sense something in myself that goes, ooh, not safe, not healthy, and to respect that in me, to give myself the space that I need or take whatever it is I need to do to let the thing go for a moment. Ultimately, the question for the spleen is, are we holding on to things that aren't healthy for us? If you recognize that you're holding on to anything that is hurting you, making you less healthy, you need to let it go until you stop getting the signal that it's bad for you. That means that you can do this a lot with things. Things can be bad and you can go away from them, and then they can get healthy and you can come back together with them. It's really hard, though, to mentally try and map this out or predict it. It's a very instinctual, physical no, or I'm okay, I'll keep going. Now, I want to compare this a bit to a gut response. A gut response is like yes or no, like it's very clear one way or the other, whereas the spleen doesn't really do a yes. The spleen does a no, and if you're not getting a no, proceed. Think about it like walking down a forest trail in the dark. Would that be scary for you? Why would it be scary? Are there feelings that you're going to get that are going to make the fears stronger or softer or whatever? If I'm walking through the woods and I don't feel anything, well, I don't feel anything. I'm going to keep going. But if at some point while I'm walking through, I have this something's watching me, something's approaching me, something's going to get me, I have to be alert to that. Pay attention to when you're alert about things. It's trying to get your attention. And in theory, it might be trying to save your life. Words that would be associated with splenic awareness would be instinct, intuition, trust, health, immunity, survival, safety, danger. Can you trust yourself to keep yourself alive? Can you trust yourself to help yourself thrive? If you follow splenic stuff, if you are a splenic authority person within human design and you follow your spleen, you will be healthy. You should live. That's what it's here to protect you for. I want to acknowledge that it took me years to be able to comfortably follow my spleen, to feel like I actually know this thing that I'm following, that we have a relationship, that I can trust it, that I understand the way that it communicates to me. I want you to know that if you're newer to human design or newer to working with your body graph, learning to trust your spleen takes a while and it can be challenging. And if you encounter source material from Ra Uru Hu, the founder of this system, he says a phrase that has really stuck with me because of how much it annoys me, which is that the spleen whispers and it doesn't repeat itself. I think there needs to be a little bit of nuance to this description, which is that the spleen whispers, sure, because it's not trying to get everybody's attention. It's trying to get your attention. It's a subtle message that you actually have to be listening to. But to say that it says it once and it doesn't repeat itself, I don't think that's true. I think the moment happens once and doesn't repeat itself. But moment to moment to moment, if things are bad, if things are scary, if things are off, if things are wrong, if things are unhealthy, your spleen is going to continue to give you signals indicating to you that a change needs to be made, that things are getting risky, that you might be pushing things too far. Now, if you push your spleen too far, what you're going to do is you're going to push your health too far. You don't want to do that. Trusting your spleen means trusting yourself to keep yourself healthy and safe. Maybe you're meant to trust your spleen. Maybe you're meant to trust your gut. Maybe you're meant to wait for clarity. Maybe you're meant to wait a lunar cycle. There are a variety of authorities in human design. Splenic is just one of them. And thanks to Projector Patrick, we got a lot more awareness of it.